In honor of International Women's Day, I'm proud to be joined by two exceptional Israeli women. Both are leaders in the field of science, technology, and innovation, and an inspiration for all women aspiring to distinguish themselves in a traditionally man's world. My first guest is former chief scientist for the government of Israel, Dr. Orna Berry, the only woman thus far to have held that post. And my second guest is Inbal Kreiss, deputy general manager of the Israel Aerospace Space Division that builds satellites for the government and whose latest product, the Beersheba or Genesis spacecraft, is now on its way to the moon. Prior to this lofty position, Inbal managed one of Israel's most sensitive and complex programs, the upper-tier Arrow 3 ballistic missile interceptor. Ladies, welcome. Orna, let's start with you. You're widely known as Israel's first lady of high-tech. You've blazed so many trails in cyber and other fields, yet there still is this glass ceiling, isn't there, that prevents talented professional women from reaching the top?
The numbers speak for themselves. As I was driving over, just the National Bureau of Statistics announced that the ratio, the different gap in pay between men and women is actually larger than what I thought. So I looked at the recent National Bureau of Statistics data. I looked at the World Bank Women Report. It's not good for anybody.
At least 30% women are lagging behind.
It's not only that difference. It's also there are two issues. One is gap in pay at the same level, and one is promotion, which means that if we talk about absence of expertise at certain levels, it means that we have less of a population to select from.
Absolutely. Let's move it over to Inbal. And you were reluctant to come in today to discuss gender issues. You preferred, and rightly so, you have so much to discuss the substance of your professional activities at IAI. But nevertheless, there is a gender issue, is there not? Haven't you ever felt, especially in a chauvinistic sector like the Israel defense industry, that you've had to work doubly hard to prove yourself relative to men?
Actually, I prefer to look it in other way, not to look myself or to define myself in any identities. The highest expectations of myself, I set them for myself, and every day by day, I am competing with the expectation that I set the bar high. And it's not men and female, it's each one by himself set the expectation for himself. And day after day, I should prove myself in new conflicts, in new situations, and to overcome many barriers during the difficult work, home, career balance.
Yet the statistics show, I mean, you almost like the Frank Sinatra song, if you can make it in the Israeli defense industry, you can make it anywhere, right? But the statistics do speak to itself, for themselves. Orna, tell us about how Israel ranks relative to the other nations in terms of gender equality in the workplace, and in your view, what needs to be done, perhaps from the ground up, to encourage more women?
Israel is ranked okay, but not excellent. In the last World Bank report, Israel came with a grade point of 81, and obviously there are many who are ranked much higher. The two key points that Israeli women lack is initial pay, and that is also claimed by the Ministry of Finance.
Yes, yes.
This is a report that came by the Ministry of Finance in early February of this year. The other thing is promotion. It takes longer, and they don't get to the top normally.
But does it need to start at the level of elementary school to encourage these students from the beginning?
It depends. I separate three parts. One, you want to achieve. And that matches what Inbal just said. The other one, your workplace needs to be able to recognize you, and sometimes the recognition of women and men is not exactly the same. There are universities in Israel that will not extend the tenure track period if you had children during your pre-tenure career. Other university will extend it. So that's the workplace.
Right.
The last item is a regulatory item. Now, we hate regulations because it means bureaucracy. But on the other hand, there are issues that relate to the educational system that allow men and women to get the same
opportunities.
The same opportunities, but also because of the fact that social feedback is sometimes different, to help go through the social feedback and to reach really the potential. And consequently, I say the person, the workplace, and the state are there.
Inbal, what percentage of women are in the defense and aerospace sector here? I would venture 10% relative to men?
Even less. Many years I used to say we are focusing on the quantity, on the quality, not on the quantity. But behind the figures, like the famous film about females in the early days of NASA, the famous Behind the Figures movie.
Yes.
There are engineers, there are scientists, they are leading teams, they are leading in all engineering disciplines, highly professional, highly expert, but the numbers of women in management level is very, very low.
Now,
so
Orna,
these are the numbers, and the numbers are telling the whole story.
Absolutely. Now, Orna, if you can just share some really egregious examples of chauvinism and sexism that you've experienced in your many, many years, the gravitas that you have, and despite all your achievements, tell us about this minister who wanted you to color your hair.
That's absolutely, probably is right, because he said that he asked me in a meeting, why don't I dye my hair? Why don't I put makeup? Because it gives a negative message. And I responded, something that is a lie, by the way, I responded that I'm for the natural look. It's not true. I just am not for the maintenance. No, I'm just not for the maintenance. It's not on my priority, and that's my choice. But ever since then, I would send one of my deputies to meet with him whenever he invited me. Because I didn't think that anything good will come out of this meeting. Somebody who's asking that question in the opportunity of meeting me is not meeting me as an expert in my area. He's meeting me as an object.
As an object.